We are back, ranking every NFL team as we head into week 1. We are 2 days away from the NFL season. Your boy is hopped up off a white monster right now, ready for this tier list. As always, if you love the NFL, make sure you subscribe to this channel. But without further ado, 2026 mock draft season. The New Orleans Saints are already prepping for next season. Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shuck, I don't care who it is. They're not going to be winning football games this year. Alvin Kamara could very well be traded at the deadline. The defense might start off good, but it's full of a lot of old guys. I expect that the New Orleans Saints will have one of the worst records in all of football this upcoming season. And I don't think it's very, very hot takey to say that the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are already preparing for next season. And, whether it's Gabriel, Shador, Flacco, this team isn't going to be able to hang in the AFC especially. I have the New York Jets as well in this tier. I actually think the New York Jets week to week could be a little fun, could be a little frisky, but overall on the season, they're not going to be. Aaron Glenn, hopefully he could fix the culture of that team. I don't believe in Justin Fields, but listen, Justin Fields proves me wrong, then they'll move up the tier list. I also have in this tier the Tennessee Titans, and I wince a little as I do that because could Cam Ward come out and beat Jaden Daniels? I suppose it's possible, but I don't think it's very likely. As we go into the season, though, only 4 teams in the 2026 mock draft season tier. Now we move into the Frisky tier, and I want to make a point known quick that this is not projection. This is kind of where we're at. I mean, some of it's a little bit of projection, but you'll see what I mean. I have the Miami Dolphins in the Frisky tier. I don't think that they're a fringe playoff team. I think that they're very clearly third in their division, and I just don't think that they win more than 7 or 8 games, which isn't going to get you into the playoffs. I don't believe Tua stays healthy, and even if he does, I have my real question marks about how much he can actually create a winning situation. Their offense, though, it could be explosive, could get back to last year or 2 years ago, I should say. The secondary, though, is brutal. The offensive line got worse. Just a lot of question marks when it comes to the Miami Dolphins. I have the New York Giants as Frisky, and this is just on the back of their defense. They have a top 10 defense in football. The defensive line, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, you got Javon Holland, you got Paulson Adebo, you got Bobby Okereke. If they can get Jackson Dart out there, and he is legit, they're very frisky. They have the toughest schedule in football, which sucks if you're a Giants fan, but they are absolutely a frisky team. I have the Arizona Cardinals in this tier as well. They have an underrated defense. I think Jonathan Gannon's built a pretty good defensive unit over there as well. If Kyler could stay consistent, maybe they're a playoff team, but at this point in time, I just don't believe that Kyler could stay consistent over the course of an entire season. Sorry, not sorry. The Dallas Cowboys, I'm going to put them in frisky at this point in time, just on the back of their offense, because I do think they could have a top 10 passing attack in football. I do like Jadon Blue, and they got Kenny Clark back in the Micah deal. Jerry Jones basically made it sound like that they might be trading some of their picks for players at some point, so we'll leave them in frisky for now, but they have quick potential to probably move down into this 2026 mock draft season tier, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. I got Carolina in this tier as well. I like Bryce Young. I don't fully believe in Bryce Young at this point in time, but we'll see. Tedero McMillan, Chuba Hubbard, Jalen Coker starting the year hurt doesn't help this offense at all. The defense, they get Derek Brown back. They have J.C. Horn, but I still don't think it's a complete unit by any means. The Indianapolis Colts, they're week to week again frisky. I don't see them reaching the playoffs with Daniel Jones, but they have weapons: Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, Tyler Warren, a decent offensive line, the second best defense in their division. So they're certainly frisky week to week. And the Jaguars I have in this tier as well. Can Liam Cohen fix Trevor Lawrence and generate a top 15 to top 10 offense in Jacksonville? It's on the board. I don't think it's likely, but it's possible. The Jacksonville Jaguars are frisky this year. Moving into the fringe playoff tier, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Chase Brown, that offensive unit is going to make the Bengals must-watch TV week to week, especially with the fact that their defense is going to give up a fuck ton of points again. They're going to be in shootout games. I said it all offseason, but I'll say it here again. Albert Einstein says the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. It's kind of what the Bengals are doing this year. I think that they're going to be a 9-8 team, and I think that they're going to miss the playoffs. I have the Chicago Bears in this tier as well. I just barely have them missing the playoffs in my predictions. I think that this might be the lowest we see the Bears on this list. I really do think that their ceiling is very, very high. In terms of this season, I think that they could potentially go on a conference championship run if Caleb pans out. They have a top 10 offensive line, weapons like DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, DeAndre Swift, a defense that's underrated. They're a really good team. The Raiders in this tier as well. If the Raiders didn't play in the AFC West, they're probably a playoff team, but that's just a dog fight of a division. Geno Smith, Genty, Bowers, Jacoby Myers, Dante Thornton should be a really fun offense week to week. I have my doubts about the defense, especially the back seven, but Kuntz and Crosby will be able to generate a pass rush enough. And can Pete Carroll develop that defense? We'll certainly see there. Fringe playoffs, I also have the Atlanta Falcons. I'm not as bought into the Falcons as some people are. I do think their offense certainly could be dynamic, but we'll see on Michael Penix. He's got weapons in Bijan, Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts. The offensive line did get a tad bit worse. The defense is really depending on two rookies and James Pearson, Jalen Walker panning out and developing a pass rush for them. They lose Justin Simmons. Like, I don't think it's a good defense. The offensive line got worse, and I have questions at the quarterback position. We'll see, though. It just feels like a lot to be up against. I got Seattle in this tier as well. Seattle's the team that I think a lot of people are going to tell me that I need to have higher up. And I get it. If you're a Seahawks fan, you won 10 games last year and you have the best defense in your division. The offense on paper, it just doesn't make sense to me. Darnold coming in behind a worse offensive line. The weakness in Darnold's game is he doesn't handle pressure well. You move on from DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett to bring in an old Cooper Kupp, and where he's most impactful is the slot, but that's also where JSN's most impactful. Can Ken Walker stay healthy? It's just too many questions for me on Seattle's offense. If they prove me wrong, like, I'll be the first one to admit it, Seahawks fans, but they got to prove me wrong first. And then I got the New England Patriots in this tier. I think that they have a very improved roster. Drake May and Mike Vrabel as a head coach quarterback combo is something that you could certainly believe in for years to go at this point. Diggs, Kyle Williams, Henry, Travion Henderson, some good offensive weapons. I don't love the offensive line. Will Campbell's good, but aside from him, I think Drake May is going to be running for his life, and I think there's going to be a lot of games where he's going to have to make shit happen, and we'll see if he does. The defense I like, but they did cut Jabril Peppers, which I thought was odd. You still have Gonzo, you still have Milton Williams, so it'll be an improved team, but I don't have them getting to the playoffs this year. Next, we move into the playoff teams, and this tier specifically is teams that I think can make the playoffs, will make the playoffs, but I don't see a world where they make the Super Bowl, starting with the Denver Broncos. I think that they have the top defense in football, and I even think in the regular season that they're going to go win the AFC West, but with the offensive pieces that they have, I don't see them going on a playoff run where they end up in the Super Bowl. I like Cortland Sutton. On a Super Bowl team, he's probably a wide receiver too. Mims, Troy Franklin, I don't know what you got there. Evan Ingram, I thought was a nice pickup, but again, is he your second leading receptions guy this year? Dobbins and RJ Harvey, we'll see. I love the offensive line, love the defense, love the coach. I don't think the offense is quite dynamic enough this year to go and get to a Super Bowl. Next year, you're free from the Russ money, so maybe you make a big splash in free agency next season, Broncos fans. It's still a young team that certainly has the potential. I got the Niners in this tier. I don't think the Niners have what it takes to go on a Super Bowl run this year. Too many holes on the defense, too many injuries already in the wide receiver room, but I think they'll be back in the playoffs. Purdy, McCaffrey, Kittle, Trent Williams, Kyle Shanahan. That's probably all you need on that offense with that schedule to win 10 plus games. I like Bosa. I like Michael Williams. I like that they have Salah back, but there's just too many spots all around the roster for me to think that they could go on a Super Bowl level run. I have Washington in this tier. I know people are going to give me some pushback for that because they have Jaden Daniels and they made an NFC championship last year. Again, guys, progression in the NFL, just not linear. I think there's still a lot of question marks here with Washington. The defense isn't that great on paper. It's the oldest team in football. Injuries usually creep up on those older teams. Terry McLaurin didn't get a training camp in. Deebo Samuel, like a lot of injury risk on this team, a lot of age on this team. And I think that they overperformed last year, and we're going to see them kind of drop back to reality a little bit. The Pittsburgh Steelers, Love their defense, but you can't convince me in the big 2025 that Aaron Rodgers is going on a Super Bowl run. Their wide receiver 2 situation is a big question mark for me, especially like when Rodgers isn't going to be as dynamic anymore. I'd love for him to have more weapons than just DK Metcalf and Pat Freiermuth. I don't know why they moved on from Pickens, but I digress. And then the Chargers, man. I think the Chargers are just a playoff team this year. If Rashawn Slater had stayed healthy, maybe then I could have put them in the Super Bowl contenders tier. But without having just that top tier offensive line, I don't think that they could make a Super Bowl this year. But the future is still very bright. They got some great young offensive weapons now with McConkey, Omarion Hampton, Trey Harris, Keandre Lambert-Smith. I like. Herbert still running things with Harbaugh and a young defense, but not in 2025, not this year. We get to the Super Bowl contenders tier where it's like a massive stockpile of NFC teams, but I'm going to talk about the Houston Texans first as an AFC team. I do think that the Texans will make that jump this year to being viewed as an elite AFC team. I think that they're going to win their division for the 3rd straight year, going to win a playoff game for the 3rd straight year. They'll have a top 3 defense. Will Anderson Jr., I picked him to be defensive player of the year. Derek Stingley, still a beast. D'Amico's going to coach them guys up. Stroud, I think is going to have a really good bounce back year after last year. Him and Nick Caley, I think the chemistry is going to work there. The offensive line, my hot take, is going to be better than last year. Nico, Higgins, Noel. I think that the Texans could end up in a Super Bowl this year. It would be on the strength of their defense, but I think it's possible. And then we got an NFC like logjam, guys. The Minnesota Vikings. People are going to call me crazy, but this team won 14 fucking games last year. If JJ McCarthy is better than Sam Darnold, which is on the board, you have Jefferson, you have Addison, you have Hawkinson, you have Aaron Jones. You improve the offensive line, you improve the defensive line. The secondary gives me question marks, but Brian Flores, man, what he does is schemed great defenses. So don't sleep on Minnesota. The Rams, I think it's an obvious thing here. Is Matt Stafford going to be healthy? If so, they're obviously Super Bowl contenders, man. Stafford, Puka, Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, a good offensive line, a good defensive line. I love the addition of Poona Ford. They were so susceptible to the run last year. I think Poona Ford does help out with that. The Rams are in my Super Bowl contenders tier. The Buccaneers are in my Super Bowl contenders tier, man. Baker, I think, could have an MVP caliber year. Love the weapons. Mike Evans, Godwin, Egbuka, Kate Otten, Bucky Irving, Rashad White, Tristan Wirfs. Looks like he's going to be healthy sooner than later. It's a good defense, not a great defense, but Todd Bowles will coach them up. I got the Detroit Lions in this Super Bowl contenders tier. I noticed some that might be kind of low, but with them losing Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, and Frank Ragnow, I do have them dropped below the Super Bowl favorites tier. They certainly could prove me wrong and get back up into that tier, but we just got to see it. But in terms of talent on the roster, you still have Goff, Gibbs, Montgomery, Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta, Penei Sewell on that offense. And the defense is finally going to be healthy. We haven't seen that in a while with, Aiden Hutchinson, who looked like he could have been the defensive player of the year out there for this team. And you still have Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch. Like, it's a really, really talented roster. And then the Green Bay Packers, man. Them, the Lions, and the Vikings, man. 3 NFC North teams I have in the Super Bowl contenders tier. It's going to be a loaded fucking division again. Green Bay gets Micah Parsons. I do think he's a major difference maker for that team. The defense is going to be a top 10 unit in football. The pressure is now on Jordan Love, man. You got the right head coach on the floor. Josh Jacobs is a 2-dimensional offense, great running game, great defense behind you. Jordan Love, what can you be consistently week to week? Can you cut down on the turnovers? And Matthew Golden, can he be a legit wide receiver 1 for this team? If those 2 things happen, they'll probably move up into the Super Bowl favorites tier. But now we move into that Super Bowl favorites tier. We got the Philadelphia Eagles kicking it off. Obviously, they're defending Super Bowl champions. They keep most of the roster. Some of the defensive players turn over, but they brought in replacements for those guys. I still think it's a top tier roster in football. Jalen Hurts, Saquon, AJ Smitty, a top tier offensive line. The offense, the defense. Jalen Carter still holding it down. You have Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Zach Bond, who was an all-pro last year. You bring in some young pieces like Makuba and Jahad Campbell that I think could really pop this year. And it's possible the Eagles go on another run for sure. Baltimore, you could argue on paper, is the best team in the entire NFL. Lamar Jackson was just voted the number 2 player in the NFL. He could certainly have an MVP year. Him and Derrick Henry will likely lead the NFL to the number 1 rushing offense again. And that defense on paper is just so fucking stacked, dude. They got like 6, 7 potential Pro Bowlers on that unit. Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, man, he was a couple inches away from getting to the Super Bowl last year on some of those QB sneaks. I thought it was the best we ever saw Josh Allen play, which is why I didn't really mind him getting the MVP. Him and James Cook, a lethal rushing attack. And if they could just get a bump from Keon Coleman, Kincaid, or Shakir, maybe this is their year, man. McDermott will always have that defense going. And then the Chiefs, man, you know, I know it's a popular pick to pick regression for the Kansas City Chiefs, and I picked the Broncos to win the division, but at the end of the day, when it comes to this tier list, until I see Kansas City start falling from grace, they're going to be living in that Super Bowl favorites tier. Mahomes, Reed, Spags, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, you got those guys. You're still looking pretty. But this is my week 1 NFL tier list. We're going to be doing this every Tuesday. The Tuesday tier list is back for the NFL season. Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you love the NFL and you're not yet subscribed to this YouTube channel, hit that motherfucking button. I'll catch you next time. Peace.